Hello, it's Len from Straight Talk from the Homeland. Welcome back to the channel. There are tens of millions of American Christians, not just evangelical Christians, but also Catholics and other mainstream churchgoers, many of whom are slavishly supporting an antichrist like Trump as if it were a cult. These Christians have been fooled for generations by Zionists. They mindlessly think that they need to support and protect a colonizing entity called Israel. Imagine what Jesus would say looking at the apartheid racism endemic in Israel today. They've been fooled by Satan since the 1909 publication of the Schofield Bible's corruption of the Genesis 12:3 reference to Israel instead of Abraham's descendants. I know many Americans, and almost all of them are some of the nicest people you could meet. So how do you square that with the fact that the US has conducted military operations against more than 80 nations since World War II and has been at war for 90% of its 250-year existence? Instead of a shining light of liberty, the world now sees a country run by a raving lunatic, a filthy-mouthed paedophile committing war crimes and threatening the world. His friends and family are stealing billions of dollars, and yet 1 in 3 Americans, especially Christian Zionists, still slavishly support him. How can more than 30% or 100 billion plus Americans be that blind? More than 70 million voted for him, yet everyone knew he was a 6-time bankrupted liar who rapes minors and women and treats others like the schoolyard bully he was when he proudly said he assaulted his own music teacher. American evangelicals have spread the Zionist lie to gullible Christians around the world, so much so that even I receive threats from a so-called Christian because I support human rights for all. I receive criticism from Christians because I support a Palestinian homeland. After all, they are the descendants of Abraham as indigenous people according to their DNA. I get attacked and shadow banned because I support Iran's war against the evil Epstein class that rules our Western world through the financial systems controlled by the Epstein Rothschilds. I've said many times to my fellow Australians and Kiwis, wake up and understand that the pro-American narrative that we've been fed for years is false. We're the bad guys if we attack others and try and force them to be financially and politically enslaved to this cult like us. I'm asked if Israel has a right to exist, but like apartheid South Africa, no entity has a right to exist if they commit crimes against humanity. There's no international law that says a country has a right to exist. Only people have that right. Countries are split up, as in the case of the former Yugoslavia, ceased to exist like the Soviet Union, and created like Timor-Leste, and that will continue. No border has been set in concrete forever. Israel, which was created by the modern era's first acts of terrorism by Zionist groups like the Irgun, which refuses to demarcate its own borders because it wants other people's lands, which attacks its neighbours relentlessly, and which has illegal weapons of mass destruction, has no more right than Nazi Germany to exist. If you think that's anti-Semitic, then remember, the Palestinians are a Semitic people. So I'm preventing anti-Semitism by urging to protect them, in accordance with the orders of the International Court of Justice. Moreover, Israel's own acts of evil are the root cause for the rise in hatred against not just Israelis, but Jewish people themselves. This is unfortunate, but not enough Jews have emphasized that the racist cult of Zionism is not the same as the faith of Judaism. Zionists have even pushed for vile laws in Australia and elsewhere to try and suppress valid criticism of Israel's inhumanity as being anti-Semitic. But the world's eyes are now open. It's Israel that's anti-Semitic. It's Israel that's causing harm to Jewish people. And it's Israel that's the most satanic and hated nation on earth today. By the way, I've been to Auschwitz and Dachau concentration camps. Have you?
Say to you, Christian Zionists, you who call yourselves Christian, and yet you justify and condone wars of aggression, genocide, ethnic cleansing, mass murder, and willful wanton destruction. What good has the Bible done you? You read the Bible. You memorize portions of the Bible. You go to Sunday school and church. What good does it do you? What good has the Bible done you? What good has Sunday school done you? What good has church done you? How can you read the words of the Gospels, you know, the words that are in red, and then turn around and cheer the murderous monsters who make the streets of cities run red with the blood of murdered women and children?
There's a lady that played the piano at Gaza Baptist Church. Her name was Ilham Farah. She was an icon, music icon in Gaza. Everybody loved her. She was 84. She went to her house to check on the house if it's still standing or not. She gets sniped, shot in the leg by an Israeli soldier, left to bleed to death for 3 agonizing days. She was on the phone until her phone was dead on one of my closest friends. He was with her on the phone. And a few weeks later, when they went to bury her, they found out that the Israeli tank rolled over her body. Ilham Farah. She played the piano. She was part of the worship team in Gaza Baptist Church. Nahida and some...
When did this happen?
That was in November 2023. So we know it was a vengeance campaign. It was a retaliation.
But why a vengeance against 84-year-old Christian piano players? Like, what does she have to do with it?
If Jews don't want to be associated with the 21st century Holocaust of extermination being perpetrated by Israel against Palestinians, then they need to speak out. However, most Israelis supported these evil acts based on their racist education and the lies fomented by Netanyahu's government. They supported Hamas. They stood down the defences on the 7th of October because they knew it was coming as the perfect false flag excuse to commit genocide. They enacted the Hannibal Directive to harm ordinary Israelis. They told lies about beheaded babies and rapes. And now they support the world's only apartheid law of extermination against thousands of illegally detained Palestinians, many of them children. Where is your voice, Christians? Are you unable to think because Western media and education is controlled by Zionist interests who just repeat pro-Israeli lies? Traditional media is corrupt. An example, the recent rescue mission in Iran of an American F-15 crew member was trumpeted as a success. Firstly, we don't know for sure if the serviceman was rescued. And secondly, this happened hundreds of kilometers from where the F-15 reportedly crashed. Well, what's becoming apparent is that this was a disaster for the US Special Forces, resulting in many Americans being unalived and aircraft lost. But the US media again lied and spun the story like Goebbels would. How do Christians not see that Israel has been harming Christians throughout the Levant and even here in Armenia? Christians in the Armenian quarter of Jerusalem are spat on and oppressed. Palestinian Christians are unalived and their holy places destroyed because they aren't Jewish.
يعني أنا من 4 أيام 5 أيام زوجتي وبنتي استشهدوا قناص بداخل الحرم الكنيسي لا هن حاملين أسلحة ولا لهم علاقة بأي جنس من المقاومة يعني أو من أي تنظيمات ثانية.
Israel destroys Christian sites, even statues of St. George, the patron saint of England, and villages in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq and elsewhere.
وعملوا مجزرة، اختاروا 14 شاب من علبون وحطوهم بالساحة وقتلوهم كل 3 لحال.
وأبوي قلت لك انقتل قدامي وأول واحدة أجيت عليه.
نادوا عليه وبلشوا يطخوا عليه، ما ماتش لا من رصاصة ولا من 200، 14 رصاصة أكل. آخر واحدة أعطوه إياها بعرق دانه مشان يتأكدوا إنه يموت.
طبعا إشي بنتسع، إشي بنتسعش. فكرين يعني ياجي ولا صوصة ولا إيش بكان، خلاص هيك يعني بروح.
هاي زرت أبوي أحلى شاب، الله يرحمه.
Israel is approved a new settlement called Shtema, where they will destroy 11,000 predominantly Christian homes to make way for settlers this would effectively be the end of the Christian community in in Bethlehem and in the Shepherd's Field. And this is it would be really tragic to see the oldest Christian community in the world erased before our very eyes.
They even unalive Armenian Christians in Iran, where Christianity has more respect than it does in Israel. How much evidence do I need to show you that Jewish extremists hate Christians and blaspheme against Jesus?
What do you think about Jesus? Well, he smells really, really bad because right now he's in boiling feces. That's his judgment. And unfortunately, a lot of people are ruining their own lives as a result of following his ways. Different answer than you've heard. Next time, don't ask an Orthodox rabbi what he thinks about Jesus.
I witnessed the evil of Israel with my own eyes as it supported the Azerbaijani head choppers in their genocidal ethnic cleansing of 150,000 indigenous Christian Armenians from their ancient homeland. I had a US State Department official, an Ashkenazi Jew, surprise, surprise, who told me that this horrific act against Christians had solved an inconvenient problem. He meant that Israel could now access those lands so it could attack Iran. But the inhumanity in his eyes made it clear to me that Zionists do not care about Christians, who are just pawns to them. Azerbaijanis, armed by Israel and supported by the US State Department, which is riddled with Zionists like Blinken, even invaded Armenia itself. They unalived my neighbour's son, defending his homeland in the most gruesome way. Yet the US supports and arms this demonic state. Now I see the CIA-created ISIS leader Jolani, now transformed into the unelected president of Syria, supporting Israel's attack on Lebanon and Iran. It is truly shameful that so many Americans have been fooled into supporting this bullshit, as the ISIS head chopper unalives Christians living in Syria. Many American Christians are ignorant. They don't have a clue that Christians live in West Asia, and their greatest threat is the United States of America, which supports radical Muslim groups and Zionists. They should be supporting Christians in Armenia instead of using this country as a pawn by trying to provoke Iran and Russia with its so-called Trump route, pretending that it's okay to make the first Christian nation, Armenia, give up some of its last remaining territory so Turks can come and go as they please. And the Armenian government believes that America will protect it, the same America that betrayed Kurds, the same America that invaded Venezuela and tries to steal Greenland. Anything with Trump's name on it will be an embarrassment in the future when this orange piece of garbage and his odious cult followers are gone. American evangelicals should be supporting the Christians of Nigeria. But remember, it was American tax dollars that created the jihadi hordes such as Al-Shabaab that now terrorize African Christians. They should be forcing Turkey to recognize the genocides the Turks and Kurds perpetrated against millions of Christian Armenians, Assyrians, Greeks, and other Orthodox Christians. But no, American Christians are again fooled into thinking that Turkey is an ally simply because Zionists control Erdogan, who supplies most of Israel's oil imports from Azerbaijan. They think Israel is the so-called greatest ally of the US, when ample evidence indicates that Israel unalived JFK and US sailors on the USS Liberty, was behind 9/11 as the Jews that day were all warned not to come to work, have raped the US taxpayer of trillions, and now dragged the US into an unwinnable war that has nothing to do with America and will devastate the US empire for generations. Is it any wonder that the rest of the world looks on and wonders if Americans are blind? Especially when they elect a demagogue like Trump, not once, but twice using their non-democratic system to find out that they elected a king. There's no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. This is a term invented in the 20th century by Zionists to fool Christians into supporting acts that Jesus would never condone, like the displacement of people and the destruction of their homes. When are Americans and evangelicals around the world going to wake up and understand that they've been fooled by Satan to support the satanic cult of Baal worshippers who have been exposed by the Epstein files? What does Revelation say about people who worship false gods? All of you need to repent and stop Trump and his demonic supporters now, before it's too late to save us all. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is Len from Straight Talk from the Homeland.